They want us to think that we're an insignificant speck of dust, but let me tell you, we are so much more than dust in the wind.
At least 4 billion useless eaters will be eliminated by the year 2050.
I'm still waiting for somebody to show me gas pressure without a container.
I personally don't believe anything they say, right down to the God they claim they worship.
None of the math adds up.
You could stack up all their math books, all their science books, and even put all their degrees stacked up on top of that, and you still wouldn't be high enough to see the curvature.
This is exactly why grounding is so important.
We see too far.
We're just regular people who know we're being lied to. We're tired of it.
The bottom line is, there's only one choice left, and that's to dismantle this whole thing from the top down.
There's the cover that I released
album?
some of the singles the other day. Yeah. So there you go. It's kind of up to date. That's a select part of the instrumentals from the Sugar Skull record.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was skimming through some of it. I've listened a couple times,
very-
but it's all on
Very unique.
it's all on pay stuff, except for I found a couple
Oh,
on
no, you can go on Spotify. You can go on all the free
Oh,
ones.
I searched on Spot. Maybe I messed up. I don't know. Or
Yeah,
maybe it was one of the
Teddy
times
Bass
I didn't have internet.
There you go. So House of Frankenstein, Teddy Bass, Lightbulb Vaporizer. I do some other band stuff. I got thousands of songs out there. I sort of keep mysterious because I don't really give a fucking shit about the fame. So, but yeah, there's tons of records out there, and I've done like one-off fucking projects and all sorts of shit.
Nice.
Nice.
You have a studio in your house?
Got to
and
keep
shit?
it while staying. Yeah, I used to fucking pay like $500 a day to do the big studios. That's 20 years ago. I know how to cut tape, and then when it went digital,
Wow.
and then I ran Mackie and Soundscapes for a while. The same stuff that like the only competition to Avid and Pro Tools. And then about 10 years ago, I went to PreSonus, which is made by the engineers from Avid, because they left and they said, "Fuck this."
Yeah, Personas is decent. Personas isn't bad at all.
Oh, and you know that there's class action lawsuits against Avid because the only time I actually had a loss of data was on a official Pro Tools rig. The fucking entire studio fucking power cut. They brought it back up and the hard drives are blanked.
Oh.
And that is based on where they've had probably multi-million-dollar recording sessions that are now compromised because of that platform, and that's
Pro Tools Live.
Yeah, Pro Tools, is a subscription based, and like I said, the guys couldn't even pull up. Like I was like, you guys need to go and get someone, a forensic fucking, IT guy to fucking check the shit.
Yeah.
And all they could bring up was some of our mix down. So I had to record those old songs again. And I had a DR808 or the
nice,
which is the
old school beat machine.
Yeah, so it's not the TR808. It's the one that was made 10 years later.
Yeah,
but it was still just a little mini production center, and you could actually pitch shift all of the 808 sounds because it gave you the original 808 drum kit. And so a lot of my records from the late 90s and early 2000s is me just programming like a fucking what do you call that, a MIDI production center, an MPC, right? Or those original things. You had so many seconds, or you could fucking sort of
the AKIs, the old AK,
And you guys know the movie 808. If you go and look at the 808 movie, the 808 machine has affected more music, and more like all of what's his name's fucking the sexy dude Marvin Gaye's records is all like 808.
The sexy dude. I was, one of the things I was gonna make sure to ask is just so we knew where to go is that hopefully you had a good sense of humor, but I don't need to ask that anymore. So you just said the sexy dude. So
I do deadpan humor. I come out, I will dress like a clown and come out and do straight face humor, and people can't tell if I'm serious or not. I'll try not to laugh because the more I can keep without losing my composure, the more it fucking makes people's minds go spinny, you know?
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
love it. Love it.
Wild Stallions, boys, much appreciation. I wanted to give you guys a mad shout out. I probably funded that movie. I think I went to see that movie maybe 50 or 60 times. We would go every weekend.
Yeah.
And all of the
It's
shit
so
that's hidden
good.
in it, I'll give one thing.
Yeah.
As much as they were like stoners and laid back and way down, is it gave me that core gesture to play the fool. And
Nice.
playing the fool has allowed me to slip through their bullshit for fucking years. Like yesterday was, or 2 days ago was the 22 anniversary of lies of 9/11. And we're gonna go deep because
Oh my God! I was just saying, just
Motherfucker.
hit record, bro.
No, I've been recording. Death's just gonna have
Oh,
to
nice.
jump in somehow. We'll just go back and
Okay,
add the
cool.
shit.
Oh,
Rufus
this
will
is
jump in
beautiful.
when he
Just keep
gets
going.
here, but yeah, keep going.
Keep going, man. Now you got me all
I'm
excited.
recording.
Shit.
I know exactly where I was that morning. I know exactly what the fuck I was doing, and I made massive choices in my life that now we are here. And 22 is an auspicious number because the occult Kabbalist motherfuckers love 11s in their gematria
Oh, yeah,
and their fucking number
exactly.
crunching, right?
Yes, they do.
So the 22, 33, 11s, and it's an immutable number. So 11 is a magic number. And I thought, 22 years of lies. These bullshit motherfuckers still ain't tell the truth. All you gotta do is go look. When they said about the pandemic, I said, all right, bitches, did they tell the truth about the pedophiles? No. Did they tell the truth about the 9/11s? No. Did they tell the truth about the fucking drug dealers and slave traders? No. So why the fuck would they tell the truth about the pandemic?
They won't.
Okay? You know, I'm just saying, you got to use your logics a little bit. It's like, do you know they're fucking playing one on you? Of course they do. So I get a little bit passionate because I took offense that they lied to me so much
Mhm.
that they would continue to lie to my daughter. About 10 years ago, I stopped watching cable TV and I shut down the state. I said, you fascist, communist, Marxist piece of shit, get the fuck away from me. And you fucking lied to me from day one, because we can go right back to like the 70s when I was born. And I can basically tell you when I remember when I'm 3 and 4 and 5 that I know I was being lied to. We'll get right into that.
Go
But
for
you're
it.
not going to lie to my motherfucking daughter.
Yeah.
She's off. You crossed the line there. Maybe you've been playing the game on me, but guess what, bitches? It ain't going down like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I got military motherfucking family, and we didn't go to fucking war, so the fascists and the Marxists were still fucking here fucking around. So there's a big conflict of interest going on. I found out Canada is probably got its hands more dirty than anything, because I was born in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Some of my family's from the U.S., but I was born here. They had Trotsky, and they took him from the U.S. government, and they put $50,000 in hand and sent him to Europe to start the Bolshevik Revolution for the fucking goof Jesuits. So the genocide, we're talking about 150 million or more people put in the gulags that died, regardless if they were useful idiots. Like Yuri Bezmenov calls the people that help socialism useful idiots, and they are, because they get off later. But they facilitated it. It's like when good people do nothing, evil succeeds, right? And
Yeah. Exactly.
there's nothing worse than God hates someone that's lukewarm. Either be cold or hot. If you're gonna be a piece of shit, fucking be a piece of shit. But you know,
We don't allow foul language on this podcast, sir. No, I'm totally
you
kidding.
gotta dial it back, buddy.
No.
Not so many four-letter words.
I'm kidding.
Not so many verbs.
It was
Oh,
a total joke.
It was a
dude.
complete
Where
joke.
in Canada are you?
I'm in Victoria right now, but I grew up in East Vancouver. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. It's like Hollywood North. So very
yeah.
Jesuit run. All the curriculum is brainwashed curriculum, all lies. Like we were taught heliocentric Darwinism bullshit from like, kindergarten on. Horrible socialism against the people. I didn't realize it at the time, but you see it now. Like Trudeau's dad, Pierre Trudeau, was an official fucking like collar wearing Jesuit, and he ruined Canada. Like it took 20 fucking years to get out of the fucking Marxist garbage he pulled on us. And now his son has made it worse. Like he's official communist owned shill.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Awful piece of shit. He's a pedophile. He had to pay $2.5 million to this family. He was raping this girl. He was 13 or 14 because he was a teacher's assistant. And then instantly he had to stop being a teacher, the teacher's unit. So it's all payoff money. They moved a family to Buffalo, but they didn't have all the families sign the NDA. So they're actually people that can tell the truth, even though what's the definition of fascism? When the state owns the media. So in Canada, most, like all of the media is funded by the state. So you, even though they don't own it, you don't get your government grant or all this thing. So it's the same bullshit. It's called payola, pay to play.
Yes,
you don't get your thing, and you have to be a fucking Marxist fascist and tell little girls to cut off their titties and boys to cut off their penises, or you don't get your paycheck. And it's fucking, it's brutal, dude.
Rufus is here, so I'm gonna let Rufus in right quick.
Don't let me take the mic, boys. Bring it on in, boys.
What up, yo?
What's up?
What's going on?
Say hello to
Happy
Mr.
Wednesday.
Teddy Bizzle, baby.
What's up, Ted Bizzle?
Theodore Basanova.
Pleasure to have you, man.
There's only room for one Ted on this podcast, bro. All right.
Oh, that's right. I got lots of nicknames. You can call me fucking Gigi Pennywise. You can call me.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, but my real name is not Ted. I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that.
And hey, you kind of guys, and we're not pulling the veil up because we're not unveiling everything right now. But yeah, man, it's all good, boys. And I super respect what you guys are doing, and it's good because one of the biggest things I tell people is that by you letting them tell you the narrative is the only control you have. If you don't give them the authority, they don't have it over on you. So by us making media and us doing the art, it doesn't matter if you paint a wrong picture or an ugly picture. Just by you doing and engaging it, you are winning. And that's what they don't want us to do, is this right here, boys. So good on all.
It's got to be so much harder being up there, man. Like, I mean, has it gotten any easier?
I'm in Victoria, which is like Marxist Central. So there's a book called Shadow Wars or Shadow World, which talks about the money from the profits of war profiteering over the past 30 years. And Victoria and Vancouver are used as a class action example of, because you can't just go and give these politicians $4 or $5 million. So what they do is they buy them houses and then they give them houses for free. And that has puppeted or trumped up the real estate market. So a rotten house in East Van that was worth 30 grand in the 80s is now worth $1 million. Same rotten 2x4s, but the bank has augmented that, and that's how they pay off these war criminals.
Are you telling me that banks are evil? Is that what you're saying to me right now?
Dude, in Canada, all the banks have been busted for fucking laundering pedophile money and drug dealer money, all this. And you know what they just did? During the fucking honk thing, they had a little like a rally where the people said fuck you and they drove their trucks around and honked for a while.
Yeah.
Well, Trudeau lost his mind. So he went and seized, if you bought a t-shirt to say, I think it's okay to ask questions, they seized your grandmother's bank account or seized your aunt's bank account. Seriously, they literally locked it so they couldn't pay their rent or they couldn't get their welfare check or whatever the fuck it is. That is fascism.
Yeah, we hear that here, but you know, you never know how true stuff is until you know somebody who's actually there.
Real.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm right here. And then they did this other thing they want to do, gun recalls. So right now you can't buy pistols here. You can buy rifles and shotguns, but they don't want you to buy certain types of, because they tried to ban the trigger or the mechanism in the actuator, which is kind of, and you look anywhere in the fucking history, when people take away your ability to defend yourself, what happens next?
They kill
you. And all your family get put in a ditch, right? Yeah. And here's another fucking thing about war profiteering. When these punk ass motherfuckers think you're gonna go start some war, let's go kill some innocent people over here. It's only women, children that, I don't know, whatever the fucking bullshit they put in their head. That same bank will find someone to fund the extermination of you. That is the Hegelian dialect. That is how the Jesuits work to oppose people, to get them to do what they want. Well, you do the dance, right? I mean, we're going to get pretty heavy. We're going to go straight to Carl Jung. We're going to go to Nietzsche. We're going to fucking do everything. But you're my boys. Bill and Ted. Fuck, I got Mad Rufus right here. Jorge Carlin. My man, Jorge Carlin.
You're a show, my dude. I love it.
Yeah,
love
like
it,
I
I love the energy.
Sit here all day and just take this. Try to take as much as I can. And
I'm going to give you guys the mic, but I am a cup pressed down full and overflowing. They killed my mother, so it's very hard for me to dial it back.
Oh no.
because I see the wrong done. And I love my mom to bits. About 10 years ago, the allopathic medicine, she was in California and her husband didn't get her medical treatment. She came to Canada. I thought Canada was a good thing. Well, they fucking gave her that chemo shit, and then they gave her the remdesivir and shut down her organs. So I look at it as manslaughter, if not. And the doctors got paid for it because the doctors get paid up here. They get a kickback if you die from the fucking treatments. But no one told me that. And I'm like, holy fuck. I remember that, Dougie. It's hard for me to dial back and not want to go and punch him in the fucking face.
I don't blame you, man.
To say the least. But you don't get to hurt my daughter. My mother loved that I take care of my little girl. I had a very tough life. But my mom took out, and we're not going to get too much into the heaviness of it, but there's a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I don't want to see children abused. I don't want to see women abused. You have a constitution. We have a charter of rights here, and that should not be harmed or infringed.
Right? Okay.
And if we don't know what they are, that's how they trick you. See, so if you give yourself over to slavery, if you go and sign the mortgage, if you give yourself over to financial slavery, then the Fabian socialists and Cecil Rhodes will has won, because you have signed up to the Federal Reserve and you gave them your straw man.
Yeah. Have you tried to leave?
Well, it's very weird. They're fucking. We're gonna get into some heavy shit, boys. Ask any questions you want. I am a Campbell. Now, there's a crest called the Campbell, the Argyle crest. Are you guys familiar at all with the Scottish and the Irish? And an Irish person was sold for 5 sterling. So we're going to get into slavery, where an African was sold for 50 sterling. And this comes into the Masons and Islam and all of the Jesuit bullshit about who was allowed to be bought and sold. And Lloyd's of London was the insurance company. So an Irishman would be sold for 5 sterling, or an Irish child or whatever. So when a slave owner wanted to reprimand or do some fucking piece of shit trying to instill his tyranny, of course you take out an Irish person. It was only 5 sterling. So we are told all sorts of lies about who we are and what we are in this country. Don't believe in Darwinism. Don't believe in evolution. These continents were here. There was existing civilizations, regardless of whether they were Jesuit experiments, but they had sent people here many times. And are you guys familiar with a dude named Vibes of Cosmos? He's like a Greek, a guy from Malta or something, and he understands flat Earth really good. That
never heard of him.
Okay, so you understand precession. We're gonna dance here a little bit. We're gonna dance to different topics. So precession is when the sun and moon cease to move. Well, so there's a bigger wheel. So yes, it's a flat perspective in the sense you're in an acoustic linear field, but the sun and moon moves in a bigger sort of clockwise pattern. It takes about 22,000 years to get. So you gotta move around. That's why those continents like Atlantis and Terra Vista and Lemuria, they may be covered in ice now, but they won't be later.
Yeah, you're talking about like a great year, the whole.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there are hidden lands and all this. So what we see as a global cabal, or the idea of you to be on a thing where nothing else exists in this space, is incorrect. There are hidden lands, and they may be in like a Russian doll of external areas or continents outside the ice wall. But there'd be another bunch, another ice wall, and there might be even more stuff. We can take a picture back, but let me go back to the camels, and I want to give the mic over to you guys for a couple minutes. So the camels and the Argyle crest.
Yeah.
The fucking only Highland tribe, the only Highlanders that didn't go for Rome and the fucking bullshit Catholic Church was the Campbells. When all the rest of the Highland tribes said, no, we're going to bow down to this fake Rome and the Peter's fake fucking Vicarius Filii Dei, Campbell said, no, go fuck yourself, bitches. This is our old thing. We're the descendants of Scotia. And they went and helped the lowlanders, and that's why they're hated. And they made the Argyle crest and the Duke of Argyll. Now, if you look at the Argyle crest, this is understanding flag and symbolism. So when you see a flag and it has that golden ribbon around it with like a dingle ball on it,
Yeah.
that means
Yes, correct.
it's maritime law.
Mhm.
That
Yes,
means it's
sir.
under a different thing. Like plenipotentiary law and maritime law will supersede your federal and state laws if
Okay.
you understand how they deal with it. Because they can take you into a dry dock, into a land that is ruled under a different law or supersedes your law. Do you understand? When you go into courts, you got to be very careful. You got to look at what's there and what the symbolism is
Yeah,
to
where you
understand
are. Yep.
which court it is. So the symbolism in it, it says no obliviscaris in Latin. Why is it using Latin? Well, because Latin is the priest language for the cult of Baal and Moloch, and they do all ritual worship in Latin. So this means blood sacrifice. So when they say no obliviscaris, they're not saying don't forget what. They're saying don't forget what the fucking they did. All this fucking blood sacrifice and the killing to enslave people. Right? And this has to deal with allopathic medicine and the abortion things and selling your thumbs, all your organs. You're worth money to fuck them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To make their drugs,
Yes,
their meth and
you
their
are.
oxycontins.
Very true.
So we went against them, and then we made the Argyle crest. So the belt says no obliviscaris. What is the belt? And why is the belt not the third thing? That means you've reached the 3 initiate levels, and this is masonry.
Okay.
We're going to go right into this, the Scottish Rite and the York Rite. So you've reached the top, the blue degrees, as they say. And then the rest of the belt is flipped over, and it shows the fleur-de-lis. This means you've been given the honorary degrees above 32nd and 33. This is the Campbells, and it's a circle, which means the circle's not broken, which is the spell, because it only works if you're inside the circle. Now, what's inside the circle? First thing below the boar's head is this golden ribbon, meaning that we're talking about maritime law. So we're talking about the Catholic Church and its commercial dominion over the world, which is how it worked through like the Northwest Trading Company and the East Coast Trading Company, all these things selling heroin. Then it's got the boar's head, which is actually, this is all Book of Revelation, which the Catholic Church has tried to pull out of the books. It describes. So if you look at the boar's head, it's got the ears, it's got the teeth, which is the crescent moon, which means we're talking about Isis. It's blowing out the fire, which means that we're talking about it speaks like Babylon or whatever. We can go through like Dr. Walter Veith and other guys have correctly identified the symbolism in it. So if my words fail me a little bit, boys, please research me and help me.
So this is your family you're talking about.
It's my family. So the Campbells went against the Catholic Church and said, fuck you and your lies. And this is heavy, why we're hated. So I never knew why I was so hated. Why? Because my last name is Campbell and I'm a male. Okay, now I know. Now you actually look at the word Campbell. If it's supposed to be spelt in capitals, because we're talking about maritime law. You understand this. Your birth certificate is spelled in capitals, right?
Yes.
So guys like Aleister Crowley and all these other guys that do with gematria stuff, they know that the word is alive, that the letter, like, the hand of God and all this type of shit, and it's the symbol. So the word is alive. God spoke you into existence, breathe life into you. You're trying to acknowledge that or relate to that. So what does the Campbell say? Because it's a play on letters. It's actually an action. So the C is, what is the C? Well, it's the sea people. They're mentioned many times. And what is it? It's a circle broken open, which means the spell is broken, or you've come from a place, the spirit. What's the first letter after that? A, capital A. What's the capital A? The capital A is compass. What is M? M is the Mason, and that is the square. What is P? P is the sigil for Osiris, and P's and B's are interchangeable. So now you've come from the spirit, you've made the Star of Remphren, Satan, you're cast down, and again the Star of David doesn't exist, so it's the Star of Remphren. It's clearly stated as that if you worship at the Temple of Moloch or you worship the Star of Remphren, it's Luciferian.
Yeah.
So the Tetragrammaton six-sided star is a three-dimensional image of the square, the black cube. So now you've gone from that, you've gone to Osiris, the land of the dead. You're dead. Well, in Greek, what does it mean to be dead? It means you lay down. And when you're resurrected, you stand up. So the P becomes a B. And now the B is, and we're also talking Kaaba. So it's Campbell, but it's all phonetic. So Kaaba. Now what do you guys? You get a B. Now you're alive. And the Mason, the man that was dead, now becomes Epsilon. And he stands on the E. And then what does he do? Now that you're back from the land of dead, you're Horus and you're alive, you walk through the two pillars of Joim and Moab. And it is, the camel name is telling the Catholic Church to eat a bag of dicks. On the fucking York and Scottish Rites.
It's written right there. Right there.
It's written there, bitches. And we got all your symbolism, bitches. We got you in the circle.
Yeah.
We put the spell on you.
So you guys were in it and then just walked away from it, right? That's what
basically, from what I understand, Rome, or what we understand, because it's a fake history of the Jesuits. So in the past 300-400 years, 1600s, 1700s, they tried to take over Rome, said, no, we need to hold the whole thing. And some people said, nah, you guys are fucking goof pedophiles and shit. We're not down with it. And you may have killed some of my women or my kids, and maybe there was a blood thing that said, fuck you. Not a fucking goddamn chance, you fucking pieces of shit. And that's where they said, you know what? We understand how this works. We'll draw a little picture. And anybody who's smart enough will know. And you got 14 generations in blood in your veins. So the people that are alive, they're calling at you. Your family looks at you from up on high and says, wake the fuck up. That's why we're talking right now.
Wow, man.
Whoa.
I'm stunned.
I know. I was not expecting this.
And I'm not down with, like, what do they call that? The skull and bones and all that shit, because they're all just based around, they want to sit around in a like do some weird creepy shit where they jerk off at each other and do all this creepy shit. I'm like, that's so uncool. If a girl wants to get freaky out with you, all that, but I don't need to be around a bunch of queer ass motherfuckers all the time. And I don't got a problem with people being gay. Just don't come on to me. I'm not down for it. It's like, and I don't need to hear about it. And my daughter doesn't need to hear about it and everything else. As you guys know, rainbows are not owned. I don't like the rainbows are for everybody. You can't say the gay person owns a rainbow.
Well, then
you can't own a rainbow. You can't own a rainbow.
And you can tell when it's Luciferian or if it's God's rainbow, because God rainbow has 7 colors and Luciferian only has 6. So you can tell when.
Yeah.
There you go. Which one's what's the color difference?
One has like a violet or another sort of
whatever.
Like
it's purplish.
Yeah. And that's that the eye chakra, right? Because it's all the same. The color spectrum.
Yes.
And now we're going to go into what is the word shin. So if we go into Hebrew, the word shin is, I think, the 13th letter in Hebrew, and that means to shine. And all this stuff where we get the word China from, which means that the red-haired people, we're all there. And that's where they go pull up these pyramids, and there's a bunch of red-haired dudes with cannabis and horses buried with them. And they're like, who the fuck are these guys? It doesn't fit with their timeline.
That wasn't in my history book, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. All right, you guys go for a few. Thanks for letting me give you that one. Oh, that was it.
That was awesome. I feel like where do I begin? So
you were baptized. That's what we did. We just took you right down to the river and we baptized you, baby.
I believe I was, yes.
Yes, me too. More than once, actually, I believe. But yes, go ahead.
So is Trudeau keeping everything together there, or is it all falling apart and you guys are like waking up on mass scales and fighting back? What's the deal?
So there's a girl named Tamara Lynch, and she was they tried to pin her as a leader of this honking movement, which is bullshit. She's just somebody that spoke loud, and so they fingered her out. They got her in a court trial right now, trying to make her like she's gonna go do more time in jail than people that fucking cut off people's heads on buses and shit. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? They got this dude. He was on a public bus, a Greyhound bus. He cut a guy's head off and the fucking thing ate part of his dead body. He only did 3 years.
Oh, well, I mean, that seems equal. That seems just.
But if you question the government, you should go to jail for 10 years. So they're making a big mockery, and they just said, actually, yesterday, they want to bring back the jabs and the masks. And everyone's like, no, bitches.
Oh, yeah, they're trying that shit here, too. They're trying it here. It's not, I mean, I would love to say it's not going to happen, but my faith in humanity.
Well, they're
has
going to try,
dwindled.
but I think the Canadian people are going to give up. They're going to fight back. Like you'll see a second trucker movement. I don't think, like guys like our Jordan Peterson. He's in the U.S. like a political. What do you call it? Like someone had to leave Canada because he asked for.
He's exiled
you know what I mean?
from Canada.
He questioned like what the federal government was saying in their universities and shit, and they fucking tried to take away his doctor's license and all sorts of like fascist shit, right?
Jeez.
So you see this going on, and I asked my daughter's 16, so she's in school, so I actually taught her quite well. Know their line. Don't tell them that you know their line to their face. So every day I ask her, what bullshit did they tell her?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I kind of like deprogram her a little bit, you know, and tell her to take it all with a grain of salt because it's probably bullshit.
Does she know the Earth's flat?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because I was super tricked. Let's go right to this. So 70, 76 or so. By that time, 81, 82, beautiful 80s. Everyone loves 80s. I can remember where I was and what I was doing. And I think I saw Empire Strike Back or something like that.
I was being born in 82.
Well, there you go. Yeah. You're there. You're in the.
I know where I was.
He squeaked in.
Yeah.
I would get to be sent on planes. Ever since I was 2 or 3 years old, people would walk me to the threshold and get me to go on a plane. And hours later, and whether it was the people, so I was given to strangers, I'd have to walk on planes. And I would fly all the time. And one of the things that the pilots and the flight attendants would do to make me calm and try to distract me from the fact that I was being left again would let me go into the cockpit at some point. And a lot of times it was while we were flying.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that. And I remember going, wow, you know, but I watched the movie and I believed it because the rich kids, they had the Star Wars toys. And I wanted, and because my family's military, I thought, well, I could be an Air Force pilot, or maybe I could be in NASA, or I could do something. And you're allowed to dream, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know physics back then. And so I believed Star Wars. I believed the heliocentric lie. I believed it. And I studied like the stars and all the fucking, you know, Newtonisms and shit.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the Bill and Ted movies come out and all this stuff, and you're boom, boom. And I was given a lot of my friends are in East Van, I'm multicultural. So I was one of 3 pale-skinned kids. So I was already a visible minority in the 80s. And my other friends would give me their religious books. So I'd read Sanskrit, like the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata. And I would read all these other things. And so my mind was a little more expanded, and I would see the different correlations. And one day I'm reading the Bible, the old King James Version, and we're talking in Ezekiel, and it said the firmament above the head of the living creature was the color of the terrible crystal. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
What does that mean?
What? And I'm trying to dig, and I'm kind of a wordsmith, and I listen to hip hop records about like these words going to save me. Now I study etymology, the study of syllables through history. So what that dude was talking about was the flat Earth back then, and you know this thing that we perceive as the stars is, you know, is sort of like a crystal matrix or a punch bag, but it's only coming from one star. Like the pole star and the North Star is the one that doesn't move, and that's probably the one that's getting shot the direct beam from the black sun or wherever the you know, when we start inversing what is called the electromagnetic spectrum that's causing this, right?
Yeah. So you go the black sun.
And then we're talking macro instead of micro, because we're very micro, but we try, and you're allowed to have big thoughts. This is understanding you like in phase interferometry and parabolic mirrors, and what you are is a signal, like Leonard Cohen says in his song, I'm guided by a signal in the heaven, you know, like, so they're always given the information. Think about the Eurythmics, like Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. They're giving us all right then. They fucking knew.
Showing
even like
right
Journey and shit, Wheel in the Sky. Boom, right? And they worked for the Jesuits. Their paycheck came from the Jesuits, and they still managed to tell the truth, but they did it artistically. Like, well, that's beautiful. That's the devil paid the contract, and you still won, and you still told the truth. So good for them, you know.
Wow. Rufus, you writing all this down?
Absolutely.
Better.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna go
what I'm
make.
here for right now, right?
We're gonna make a remix record because you guys got this, so you guys can go on your little thing and you can cut it all up. You got all my vocals right here. So we're just making a record.
So good. Death will get on it immediately.
So, Black Sun, delve into that a little bit because it's still a little wishy-washy with a lot of people. Is it, Nazi related and all this and all
so yeah, now you're gonna go into the torsion vector or torsion physics, which is the swastika. Now that's gonna be like an overtop view of something we see on a vertical plane. So you're gonna change your perspective, and then you're gonna see it spinning the other way. It looks like a Tesla coil.
Yeah.
So this is describing a snake or a big, probably created thing. Whoever created us was smart enough to make this coil. And so it's in two places at once. So check out the guy who Vibes and Cosmos. He's on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
It's all, he doesn't say a lot of words because he knows what he's talking about is so taboo that he just puts the information out and lets you decide, which I like. I want you guys to think for yourself. I really don't want people to think like me. It's way better if you go and make your own decisions. It's better if you make an informed decision, but if you make a stupid decision, that's your choice. So to the coil, if the signal is coming from two places, that's where we get our cold and our hot light. So the moon and the sun is the two reactions of the energy that is being pumped through from the black sun below us. And it could be like an organ. Like I think, Bill, you put out a text earlier today on the Twitter thing where they had that artificial wave maker.
Oh, that was me. But yeah.
And
that was Ted. Yeah.
And but that was a great thing because that's a great way for someone to get a visual idea of what could be at the North Pole, of what's actually creating.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
where the tides come.
Because we know that tides don't happen in lakes or in water that's not attached.
Exactly.
To the
I ask them on that all the time. They're always like, "It's the moon's gravity." But I'm like, "What about lakes?" And they never respond ever, not once.
No,
they just
no,
pass
they
it
don't
on
want
by.
you because they get $60 million a day to lie to you, and if you're getting that paycheck, I never got paid to believe the lie. So once I was, I was being lied to. I'm like, bitches, you got to pay me. You got to pay me a lot.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I'm not going along. I mean, everyone's got a fee. You're gonna have to pay me a lot of money to give me the golden fucking handcuffs. But I'm saying it's not that it couldn't happen. But when you dance with the devil, you wait for the song to stop, bitches, and you fucking forgot that I'm not that stupid. So the fool fools the fooler, and that's where they sell a lot of rope, man. And you can have some rope. It doesn't take too much to hang yourself.
They definitely do. About a lot.
I mean, do you think that the tides have something to do with the salt water?
Yeah, so salt water is a dielectric. So that's part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So when we get into the thing of pressure modality and vibration and frequency, what you perceive as material is I think you've seen a limited aspect of the electrical aspects of what is causing what you perceive as physics. Because we know when we start to augment them that I can make metal bounce, I can take very low frequencies, and I can do like James World Keating, and we can make rock disintegrate, or we can laser cut rock. So then everything is like, so if it's all vibration and cymatics, then what we're perceiving is sort of a static aspect of us interacting with the material realm, but we also have the ability to manipulate it. Real alchemy. Are you guys familiar with the homunculus or the comprachicos?
No.
Dropping knowledge bombs on us tonight.
Yeah, I'm still trying to process Scotland. No, I'm just kidding.
So Skota was the daughter of Pharaoh, right? I mean, it's in her name. Skota is the daughter of Pharaoh.
I was kidding.
And so yeah, let's go back to the comprachicos were a group of people. They were like gypsies that would buy unwanted kids or buy wealthy people's kids, and they would harm them or they would disfigure them. That's where we get the Joker from. There's a book called The Man Who Laughs, which is where I did my album just recently, where I'm just doing deadpan fucking serious stuff.
Yeah.
Is to actually just push the the button. That's where they got the Joker character from that old the old Batman series.
Mhm.
They kind of did this thing, this, and that's from the French Revolution, where some people were going against the aristocrats and saying you guys are fucking pieces of shit, and hitting them sort of the things with the repercussions of this will destroy the empire you're trying to create. Like God will trick you as well. You'll get right to that threshold when you think that NWO is there, and then it'll get taken from you. And that is Percy Shelley Blythe's, Mary Shelley's husband, poem on Ozymandias about the empires of old that have all failed, and how we're fools to not treat each other better or with an acceptable standard of living. Instead, we take nefarious efforts to hurt each other and to undermine other beings' well-being, right? So
crappy.
Yeah, there's a lot of shitty people in this world for
so
sure.
the Comprachicos, they would break, like gypsies would break a guy's leg so you'd be a permanent cripple, and that way they would and then the rich people would laugh at you, or they would disfigure your face, which is the guy would, seriously, they would cut your face so you'd have a permanent smile. That's what, and so the guy that went, the book is that he would wear a mask, and at the end he'd take off the mask and show how disfigured he was. And so when you see the Joker in Gotham Knights or whatever, when Heath Ledger plays him, that is based on that book from 150 years ago.
Oh shit!
Nothing is ever new.
So you're saying that like the elites share a lot of traits with the gypsies, then?
Well, no, so the word gypsy, I wouldn't say that. There was a group, a nefarious group, that was willing to take your unwanted children. And I would say, so we're going to get into Egypt and stuff, going like, so the Pharaoh was the court jester, and then the court tried to take over, and then they left. Because why did Skota and everyone exodus from it? Because they were worshiping Baal. And our history is a big lie. But basically, that Pharaoh is the court jester, and he tricked you. And you didn't want your kids, so then he made the kids come and destroy you. Like what we're doing right now, we see all this allopathic medicine, these inoculations. This is your reward for doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, 100%.
This is people's, and I hate to say it, but it's your intelligence test.
Yeah.
If you didn't know any better, you wouldn't have been involved in that. If you were making money off war profiteering since the 90s, and you probably deserve it. Do you know how many women and children that had nothing to do with war have been killed? It's just awful. A lot of guys that come back from war, they're fucking have such bad PTSD because you will get in trouble if you don't kill when they say kill. And then they come back and go, why was I killing that person? They're not the enemy. There wasn't a politician or a military target.
Right.
That was some fucking weird ass. And why is there more heroin being grown in Afghanistan now than ever in recorded history?
You know,
because
why.
that's what's feeding the fucking allopathic medicine. Of course, I need some precursor drugs, bitches. I need more.
Yeah.
I need more opium, bitches. I'm the Heisenberg, bitches. I gotta make some blue meth. Hurry up.
So I'm curious, what made you delve into, were you just given all of these things to study, or did you have like kind of this sheltered life that you didn't, No,
I was really poor, and I was told lies. And so we're going to go back to the Star Wars stuff, right back to Ezekiel. So I started realizing they're lying to me, and I knew that people in the public school were lying to me, and I would call them out on it, and I would get in more trouble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And, like, I was in grade 4, and I whistled. I was whistling the A-Team theme song, and I walked into math class. And that girl, she crushed my ear. The cartilage in my ear is still broken. I go, well, that's fucking corporal punishment. You think it'd be okay if you went up to a kid right now and crushed his fucking ear? I go, so you decorated me, bitches. I'm fucking shit now.
Marked.
Wait, you made me into what you made me, like the Comprachicos. You made me into the man that's disfigured. You made me into the man with the smiley face, and now I get to return the favor to you.
Damn.
And so what were they doing that for anyways? Was it some sort of ritual kind of sacrifice thing, or they just like a corporal punishment, you said?
Yeah, in BC, corporal punishment was well okay. I worked as a kid. I had to work a job. I had to pay off my plane tickets. And when I was 11, they said I had to pay more taxes, so they got me a SIN number. And it's like I can imagine, like, At 11, who has to, like, you go, he's a fucking kid. Just let him, he doesn't even make enough in a year to pay taxes. But that's the type of thing. They put their thumb down on me. I look at it now and go, wow, such fascist totalitarianism. Like, who did you think it's so unnecessary. It's just abusive. But, you know, psychological and mental abuse is very hard to prove.
But don't you get that free health care?
Yeah, how's that working out?
Yeah, no thanks. Were they drilling your fucking head and shit?
Yeah. And if you're depressed, they tell you should just off yourself.
Now you can die.
Yeah.
They give you MAID now. They want you to actually kill you off. If your welfare check didn't come in that right day, just go kill yourself. Bitches.
We'll help you.
Ooh. They're zapping you. They're zapping your mic, man. They're listening.
Oh, they do. If you guys don't know that I'm being watched, trust me, boys, you're in on it now. Like I am flagged on Twitter. They don't. You can look at my numbers. There's only like 1,000 people to follow me. Like I've been suppressed for 10 years. I'm also one of the dudes that knew that Obama was a shill. I've been fighting this whole time, and you know, whatever it is, I just never stopped. And so, financially, I'm not rewarded, but they hate the fact that I don't stop, and I'm a grown-up man, so fuck you.
So you've got to see the whole progression of this movement, if you will.
Exactly. So let's go back to 9/11. The day that I was there, I was growing weed in a house. Now, this is 15, 20 years before it's legal, so it was really bad. They come and put the chain on your fucking wrist, and you go to jail for years. They treat you worse than fucking Pablo Escobar's son.
Yeah.
I go, one of the motherfucking clowns I'm with is trying to be a fucking biker, trying to go in with the Hells Angels. And he's paying, they saw this fucking clown coming a mile away. He's paying $40,000 a month in a VIG to get in to have his fucking prospect. We're like, you're a fucking clown. You're one of the biggest pieces of shit ever. I grew up in the fucking streets. One of my mom's best friends, I can talk about this because it's all past statute of limitations. Her father had to he faked his own death. He paid someone enough money to make a body disappear. 10 years later, after the statute of limitations, he came back into her daughter's life. She was so mad because she thought he was really dead. That's how he got out of the club, because the motherfucking police run that shit. In 1983-84, there's a thing called the Heavy Squad, where the provincial government allowed the police and the CSIS guys to infiltrate the longshoremen and all of the rogue groups like the bikers and shit. The Hells Angels weren't here in British Columbia until 88, 89, or like 96 heavy. The Main and Hastings is this place is a drug den downtown. It did not exist until 89. I had to walk down Clark Park Street as a kid and then walk in Long Hastings and downtown. Oppenheimer Park was just normal park. I'd hang out with like dogs and run, like Great Danes and like just chill out. I wouldn't let my daughter or anybody I know walk down those streets now. And it is all controlled by the government. They're the ones that provide the drugs. The second your script is no longer good, like the opium and the morphine, you go to the street drugs. It's just a big grinding wheel. Big grinding wheel just to get rid of people and move the dope. And it's been like that for a long time because they've always been selling heroin. If you look at the English Empire, they always sold heroin, and they always worked with the countries that sold heroin. So when you see Chinatown here and all this shit, man, it's just regular business.
Business as usual. That's it.
Business, bitches.
That's right. I'm living in your mind rent free, bitches.
Well, I gotta say, I'm stunned, dude. You are a wealth of information. Like,
so the decisions I made. Let's go back to 11. I said this motherfucker's a clown. The other dude's a son of an angel. He should know better. Oh, you're expendable. Unless you're fucking super. Like, what the fuck we want to hang out with them for? Fuck that. And they loved me because I didn't sniff cocaine. So they pay me $500 a day to trim weed. I could trim 5-10 pounds, no problem. Boom. And I didn't want to be one of them. So they love me. Who the fuck
hiring?
I think they pay by the pound now, so you'd be making a killing.
They pay these fucking girls. They see these clowns. They spent $600,000 to go, I think, less than 100 pounds. They paid the trim girls like 30 grand. They couldn't even sell the weed for that price now because it's all like the one thing by the government making it illegal is they've pushed the price down. Yeah. So the CIA and all that, like Hunter S. Thompson will say, well, weed used to be $15 now, so now it's $2.50, and the price of cocaine gone down half the price. So they try to make cocaine and weed the same price, but that's all falling out of place because everybody who doesn't want to work thought we'll get in the drug industry.
Yeah. Yep.
And you saw that in the past few years, right?
That's where you make your first mistake. It's not working.
But and we used to see so many people that grow weed and they had no one to sell it to, and then they'd have to go to the gangs and they would pay them pennies on the dollar. Wouldn't even be able to pay the fucking hydro. So I said to myself that day, 9/11, I'm watching these buildings go down. I go, these punk ass motherfuckers, the same ones that don't pay me my cut properly, is run by the Italian mafia, that's run by the CIA out east, and I fucking hate them. So I walked away and I took my little bit of money. And on that day, and I told my daughter this, I said, I made a choice, and I started spending $500 a day on studios, and I recorded my first record, Beelzebub's Verses. And I own the shit because I own the publishing and the master recordings, and it's all history, boys.
It's the only way to do it.
It is 22 years. Boom, Wild Stallion. So you guys inspired me. And I look at. So thank you, boys.
Boom, Wild Stallions. That's how we do it.
So we're not really Bill and Ted.
Oh, affiliate. That's all right.
I feel like we have to disclose that.
No, it's all right. I'm gonna call up Canada and say you got to authorize these guys through Tampax and Coca-Cola. Give them full authorization.
Yeah, I love that when the Globies try to threaten us. Universal, like they've tagged Universal in our posts before. Like, you should do something about this. Like, that's when you know you're losing an argument, when you try to tag Universal.
Right? I was gonna say we're like free publicity for forever.
1,000, dude.
Yeah.
You're doing them more help than they can ever give.
We got more views than their new movie. It's cool.
I mean, have you been semi-successful, or are you just? I know you don't really give a shit about that, but I mean, have you at least like made a name for yourself up there and like?
So I hate touring, and I did the sewer tour. We did the sewer tour in 2000. I played every shithole. I played in fucking three people. I brought $20,000 worth of gear to play nobody, and a lot of times the people that pay are just people who want to steal your ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm like Jim Morrison, bitches. I just put on my records every day, and I do all right. I make enough money that I almost don't have to work. And what we're doing right now is some campaigns that just to say, ask people politely, because it's not like back in the day where you buy the CD or the record. You stream it on all these weird platforms, whatever it is, right? Spotify.
How do you even make make money doing music anymore?
So you gotta ask people to go to like Tidal or one of the higher paying platforms, and you got to do, which is what the record labels do, which is you have a room of motherfuckers playing your shit nonstop. You have like interns and 1,000 iPads pushing play every fucking 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Seriously. And you convince those people
I know a guy that made like 30
I remember
$30,000 off of Spotify
before they caught the loop. He had like 25-second tracks, and he would have like 30 friends just playing them over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, they caught on to it finally, and they changed their.
They made it where it has to be a certain amount of time at least, or whatever.
And there's 30 seconds, and you got to come through original. So if you go to a paying platform, it's better. They'll probably kick it off. But Spotify is one of the lowest paying revenues. So like YouTube and all that, people are like, I need 15 million views on YouTube. Why? It's a fucking waste of time. Better to fucking focus the energy anyways. And it is better to get original viewers. So if I get people demographically playing my tracks all over the world, it's better because the algorithms pick up on it, right?
Yeah.
So that's where it is good to do organic marketing. Like Kill 'Em All by Metallica was all like fans that passed each other the record. Mm-hmm. So I go down to the university, and before I didn't know because I thought people weren't lazy. Now I put the QR code on the sticker and I give it out. And even if it's only like 3 to 5% out of every 100 people that actually scan it, maybe one of them will become a listener. And so I worked at Network Records as an internship when I went to college. And Terry McBride is the guy that made the MP3. He's probably a billionaire now. He wrote Sarah McLachlan, all these.
Yep. Yeah, we know who he is.
And Bare Naked Ladies. Bare Naked Ladies had the fucking most hardcore fan ever. They had 500 hardcore fans that bought every single thing they made. They would make USB keys before it was famous of their live shows and CDs.
Yeah.
And all I did was, and Network Records also did product fulfillment for the BC Lions, which is the CFL up here. So they had some high profile products, which were state run products. Mm-hmm. And then they had, Network Records, and this is where the whole change went from basically like, the racket of radio and television into the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of money went down. A lot of big businesses and fixers went into rooms, and huge money exchanged hands. So guys like Jay-Z could buy Tidal, and Jay-Z uses Tidal as a way. It's the highest paying platform, which is why I send people there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm not in. I'll accept the money. You can leave the money at my feet. I'm not pressuring you to give me money. That's different, you know. And I'm not lying to you. I'm not saying I'm fucking Beyonce. I'm not saying I'm fucking Britney Spears. But I put out my own track, and I'm not controlled or owned by the state. I'm not controlled by, you know, General Electric or BlackRock. I'm an independent artist, and I say what I want to say. There's very few things I'll censor unless you're saying you're going to eat and kill dead babies. I'm just not into it. I mean, you can say it's sort of like, you know, Carcass is a good, like some of the death metal is all right. They do it artistically, but I'm not going to say that I'm going to work for the Vatican. And once I realized that my family directly opposed the Vatican, I was like, I'm going to don the fucking Campbell fucking crest and tell them to get their things.
And I'm going to go to Vatican City wearing it.
And I will bitch slap the Black Pope and take his mask and cape. And I talk about this all the time.
Oh God, that's good.
Is the Black Pope still around?
Oh yeah, I mean, what's his name? And you can punch it up. His name is, he's a shady looking motherfucker.
I'm sure he is.
No. And so they don't even call him the Black Pope; they call him the Superior General.
Oh, that's.
I mean, it's fitting.
If you're unlucky enough to meet him, you will notice when he puts out his hand that he's wearing the Master Mason ring, because he is the Master Mason over the York and the Scottish Rite, which is when we get back into that the whole program was usurped. Like everything that used to be the Irish and the Scottish was taken over by Rome, and it's a fake, it's a facade now.
Everything's fake. Everything.
They're fake. All the things are fake. Yes. The Chaldeans, Charlemagne, they're lying to you. They're just lying. And it's, if you go along with it, you don't got to go along with it. Make your own thing. Paint with your own paintbrush, bitches. I'm Rick James. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
I wouldn't know.
So when I was working with Kool Keith, he's always had some really shitty fucking managers. So like 20 years ago, he's working with Jackie Jasper, H-Bomb, and he's working with these other guys, Dennis Deff, and they're working with Rick James. And the manager there goes, "Oh, hey, do you want to buy some?" You know, because I was just like, I was helping along, and I was, you know, putting these boys on. And it's like, okay, so we're gonna give you 3 verses of Kool Keith, or you can have 1 Kool Keith verse, 1 H-Bomb verse, and some Rick James stuff. And I'm like, Rick James, bitches? Are you fucking kidding me? I said, I'm down with, yeah, I know some Super Freak, baby. You know, give it to me. Oh, let's do it. And so they gave him about 30 seconds, 40 seconds of Rick James. He's really old. There. I said, I'm Rick James. So I'm like, bitches, I own Rick James. Take it to the bank. That's it. Pay to play, baby. And now look at all this time. And then the Chappelle show came out, and I'm like, bitches, I'm holding Rick James right here.
I got him.
Well, you got like 30 seconds on a record or something, you said?
Yeah. So I got him on, like, I put out the record called, there's a song called Drug of Choice that I do with Thurston Howell III. And we got the audio in the back there. And then I put it out with on one of my records we just did with House of Frankenstein. So me and Mastermind, Gary out of Detroit, who is the dude that raps with Esham off of Natas, that we do it on the one track called I'm Rick James. And I put the I'm Rick James. And I got Kool Keith saying it as well. But these are just old, you know, vocal stems I own, but I brought them out just to sprinkle and bitch slap them a little bit. What did the 5 fingers say to the face?
It's awesome.
So, were you in like grave rap and stuff like that? Like,
no. So we were, you know, like the 90s. So Dr. Octagon and like the knowledge rap. So this This is exactly when the 90s came out, when the CIA went and took over the guys and said, we're only going to sign people that push detrimental music and push cocaine and push all this shit. And so I tell people to this day, I go, you know, Scarface is a movie, right? Hollywood movie, Jesuits. Sons of Anarchy is a television show. And look at you, you think it's real. And they got you being the puppet.
It's not
They
real.
that's you. They sold you the lifestyle. You thought, I'm gonna be a rebel. I'm gonna sell half grams to every fucking person I know. No, you did the dirty work, bitches. So there's a book called My Father by Marroquín Escobar, the son of Pablo, and in that he talks about what went down. And you gotta check the end of the book, because he says what happened is none of the drugs, nothing ever stopped. The drugs just kept going, except the profits went to some of the douchebags like the Hillary Clinton groups and all that.
Mhm.
And the son and the mom, everyone had to leave. But it was the mother of Escobar and the sister that made the deal with the U.S. government. So the family betrayed the family. And that's the clincher in the book.
Damn.
But not one
Spoiler.
one kilo coke. You had time enough to read it. It's all right. It's been out for a decade.
I read it for you. I'm gonna tell you what happens.
That's right. This is one of those podcasts where we're letting all the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one way to say it. It's a little bit.
The cat's paw. The cat's paw is a Mason handshake. I go and shake people with the cat's paw thing, and some people who are initiated, they get afraid because they think, "Ooh, this guy's not profane,"
Either they get afraid or they think you're gay.
or they think I'm initiated or whatever. They're like, I didn't see this guy at the last fucking jerk off session. That's right, bitches. Now, here's another thing. So every rock and roller is hung up on Aleister Crowley. You got the Beatles, you got the Stones. Everyone's hung up on the OTO. So Aleister Crowley came through here 100 years ago. I didn't know. So I thought, oh shit, this thing's old, everything's dead, motherfucker things. He was like, these motherfuckers don't know what it's up. Well, the OTO still exists. So around 10 years ago, I started going to the Gnostic Mass. I didn't want to be a Satan worshiper. I didn't want to go to the Enochian calls. I didn't want to do this stuff because I grew up around rock and roll. I just wanted to go and see if it still exists. I was amazed. So technically, I realized after going to these things, even though I wasn't formally initiated, I've been through the initiated rituals. So technically, I'm a fucking initiated member of the OTO.
Time to
So
cut
bitch
this
ass
off.
motherfuckers.
Time to cut it
Cut
off.
it.
You're fucking
And that scares
initiated.
them.
Great. No.
That's right. Well, you're all initiated. You're actually all little Jesuits.
Shit.
You just don't know it.
Truth, painful truth.
Little Jesuits.
So what was Helios? Helios was the center of sun worship, of Baal worship in Egypt. And the heliocentric model is based on worshiping a sun. So when you look into the words, that's how you've been tricked.
That's why I
You've
call
been
them
tricked really good.
satanic all the time, and they don't freaking. I mean, I guess it's not technically Satan; it's Baal, but same shit. So
Yeah, Luciferian. Now,
Yeah.
and it's just ignorance because it's so that's the parabolic reflection. What they perceive as the sun is not the sun. It comes from the black sun. So it's a misinterpretation or a miscalculation. Because some people will go, but they didn't know any better. Okay,
yeah,
we'll let that one pass. But technically, what you're doing is and this is what Babylon means, is to alter or to change or to twist. So all you've done is you've taken the truth and you've obscured it a little bit.
yeah. That's
And
what
that
they
is the
do.
deception. And who is the architect and author of the lie? That is Satan.
Yep.
So when you lie to people, it's not good. And the only thing it says in the motherfucking Bible is don't lie to the kids, or
Is the motherfucking Bible different from the King James version? Is that?
I like to use parlez-vous français, and I like to use the verbs. I use this in one of the verb because the word Lord is actually lard. I think the dudes that wrote it were actually mocking it. And then it's seriously on some William Shakespeare stuff, and they're like, no, this is so pompous and so ignorant that we're gonna come out, and the Gutenberg press was out there like, hit these motherfuckers with the books, bitches. Hit them with it.
Hit them with it.
Tell them to roll up some weed. You know there was still weed growing back then. How come nobody talks about the weed, but you can go find some people that had some herbs in their pocket?
Yeah.
And all of allopathic medicine, like, so all of the witches and all the people that just didn't need to go to the church or take the poison, and you can see about this, like inoculations were bad 100 years ago. They're the ones that are hated upon by the church because it means you don't have to go to their doctor. You can feed yourself. You can grow a tomato.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to Walmart. So you've usurped them by not engaging. I remember when the UN does some shit, the US doesn't like it, they don't even attend the vote. So that's how you beat the church. You go, I'm not even subject to it. It's all right.
It's all right. It'll all be okay. Just do what we say. It's
For you this time, it's gonna be okay.
so good. Whew. Man, I don't even know where to go.
I'm
from
trying
here.
to. I'm trying to like.
I thought you were gonna
okay,
talk about
so-
like rap beats and shit, dude. No, I'm kidding.
We can do that. Too.
No,
It's all
I'm
good.
just kidding. We're
Great, nigga. I'm joking.
most of the
Did you hit
stuff
the
you
MIDI
can tell
production
us.
center?
Most of the stuff you can tell us about the music and industry and all that, Bill and I already know. It's the other
Yeah.
shit that I wasn't expecting. So
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
And
So
that's
when
cool.
did
We
your
want-
when
you
did
know,
your awakening start, or what sparked the interest in looking into all this?
Okay, so when I was 17 years old, it was the day before the Primus concert.
Yes.
And Les Claypool was interested. When I met Les Claypool, his hands were like 3 inches longer than mine. It's just wrapped around my hand. I go, man, no wonder you can do like that 18 fucking fret fucking hammer-ons.
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Yes.
Anyway, so the day before this, some punk ass rich kids. Again, I guess I had a lot of energy, and people found it intimidating, or that I was confident, or whatever, and I just didn't care.
You have a lot of energy. No.
No,
No.
I think I would.
I thought you were like
The
in
motherfuckers
depression or
don't-
something. I don't even know.
I know, right? They were hoping. They said,
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
me. If you need, we can give you a pill.
Yeah.
So these punk ass kids, one day they're like, "Hey, do you need to buy a pellet gun?" I'm like, "Well, whatever. I mean, because I grew up, I get shipped out to the bush, so there's rifles and shotguns, and I had to stand up against bears as a little kid, all this thing. So, and where I grew up, it's not a bad thing to be a target practice. So I said, I'll buy a little pellet gun. Well, those kids that sold me that pellet gun, they went and called the police, and so I didn't walk half a block, and 5 cops came out with guns at my fucking head, and I'm lucky I didn't get fucking deaded. Now, they didn't. So I go down on the ground. They find the thing. They start to beat the shit out of me. They ask me my name. They don't believe my name because I have 7 names on my birth certificate. So I start spelling my
7?
name out, and they start kicking the shit out of me. They tore the skin off my knuckles. They kicked me in the head. All these grown men. I'm a 150-pound soaking wet little kid, and these grown men beat the shit out of me.
They're like, we know
Well,
your
my
middle
mom-
name's not oh shit. Stop lying. As they're fucking.
Well, I'm giving them
kicking
words
you.
like Khalil and Raphael because my mom gave me amazing, beautiful names, and they're like, "There's no way this is his name." So whatever they wanted. So my mom comes and gets me out of the the holding or whatever thing, and I guess the chief or the fucking top dog goes, "Is this his name?" And she goes, "Yeah," and you could see all the blood drain from his face.
Oh yeah.
They knew those guys just did the worst of the worst. So I was given a Crown lawyer, and her husband was one of the top criminal court lawyers in town. They were going to lunch when they were doing the interview with me. He looked at it and said, "This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. You just say this, this, and this." So I went in. The other 2 guys I was arrested with, they did like 6 months. I was actually found not guilty. And I didn't know any better. My mom didn't know any better, but the judge actually reprimanded the RCMP, which is the police here called the Royal Canadian Mounted
Yeah,
fucking
it's your
Pigs.
FBI version or whatever.
Yeah,
basically.
they're clowns. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't hate
So is the
individual,
FBI.
But when the mandate is not to go after real criminals, then you're not doing anything but giving out parking tickets,
Yeah.
right? And you see those. So, anyways, my mom let me go to the Primus concert the next day, and then a few months later, I went to the thing, and that fucking goof one from out east, he put his hand on the Bible and lied. And at that point, everything my grandma had told me, everything I had been told, like the state or whatever, I knew that there was some lies, but at that point, their card house crumbled.
Yeah.
And boom, and so then I started to question everything. And then just a few years later, so that's like 94, 95. So 2001 is when I realized how much I was being lied to, and I made direct actions to change my life. And now I get to talk to you guys about it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Wow,
That's
man.
Amazing. Quite the
What a
journey.
story, dude.
I'm going to write a book. I mean, when my mom passed away, she left me a journal and 2 diaries, and I want to have the best that we can do to put her story out there as well. But yeah, I could definitely write a book.
Yeah.
and yeah, we can go in all sorts of stuff. I volunteered for a few years, and I worked a day job to help fund a group called GoSIAP, which was Guard Our Children's Innocence Against Pedophilia.
Nice.
Because one of my mentors was
Thank
a Hughes
you.
member, and he had been sexually abused and hurt by the Hughes family and left for dead. And he burned churches, and he was caught when he was 14 burning churches, and they put him in jail for 8 years. And when he came out, he approached his father, and they got in a big fight in a car chase, and they tried to kill him, and his neck was shattered from the fucking like 3rd to 11th vertebrae. They flew him out. This doctor named Tim Yeomans, which was a homeopathic doctor, helped reattach his head to, so he wasn't a paraplegic. He had to live in a wheelchair.
Jeez.
And the first thing Tim did was take him off Valium, and he started to remember all the abuse as a child. Now, this is a person that comes from an incredibly wealthy family.
Yeah.
So how do I run into this guy?
Yeah.
Well, me and one of my friends, the son of a Hell's Angel, is an abused kid, so he's getting his face punched in every day. And we would go around and ask for pop bottles. So we'd just go knock on doors because we're poor, and just ask. And this is before like recycling was big.
For all
And
the
BK
Americans listening, pop is soda, just so you know.
Okay, yeah, exactly right.
I'm
Can't-
just
dude, I grew up
messing
calling
with
it
you.
pop.
Oh yeah, you're up
Did you?
there in the. Yeah, he's up in the Midwest. He grew up that way.
Big pop, exactly. And BK goes, "Why the fuck you got your face punched in?" And he goes, "Well, my dad just, he's mad.
He had a
That's
bad
what happened."
day. That's all that matters.
And so a lot of bad days.
Yeah.
And so Brent encouraged us to that we had rights and that we shouldn't be abused. And then he started to explain to us who he was. And what had happened when he was in jail is they taught him computer programming, and he works for an insurance company. So he gets us jobs doing data input. I'm doing data input for insurance adjusters. This is when the computers are super slow, like dial up fucking modem. Everything takes fucking hours. And BK, this guy, I mean, he knew how to write code. It's amazing, like the thing. So he would make. So it ends up that we start all this thing, and he becomes one of the first people to catch pedophiles in Canada. So they sort of reverse sting them. They set up so that there's the kids, and then the pedophiles come and try to attach the kids.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing collapses. Well, what the Canadian government did was we got awards from the fucking this and that. And a lot of us were unnamed. I had paid for it, and I had worked behind the scenes. Is that we saw what happened at the end was that the Canadian government, the judicial system, only slapped these people in the hands.
Yeah.
Gave them a small fine. Didn't take a thing or send them to jail. Stop putting kids in the dog food. Stop killing kids. We know they were poor, or they weren't rich kids. It's okay, and so we became very distasteful with how, and even like the heads of the police and stuff, like they were ashamed because like that's not what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
These people are supposed to have their houses taken away. They're supposed to be in jail forever. Like Canada can't be a safe haven for pedophilia. So that's when I learned, and this is in the mid to late 90s. So it was a very sad awakening for me.
Damn.
And so then we went from there, and then, BK became a computer programmer. I learned to be an engineer. What I would do at the studios is, because I was poor, and so $500 was a lot of money for me, is I would convince the owner of the studio I could be my own engineer because I could do the computer stuff. And one of the reps from Soundscapes in Mackay said, "Who is this fucking young kid that knows how to run this equipment?" And those guys actually gave me a rig for free for 15 years because they're like, you should know how to use this technology. They're all extra hardware from the government that no one was using because they had to swap out so much hardware. These are external,
like mixers and stuff like that. Like
these were external hard drives basically.
Oh,
so
external hard. Okay.
So that's the way they could crunch all the numbers, right? So they had these external hard drives that would crunch.
Like a 5 megabyte hard drive.
They were internal, whatever they were, fucking pretty small stuff. And we could upgrade them, and there were certain cards we could put in that would give processing power. So I had like one reverb, one chorus, one echo.
I remember this. Okay, I do remember.
And then it would crunch the numbers, and I would get it would limit the processing power, and we'd have to put units and chain units. And that's how we mastered back then. Is you would take external hardware and you do effects change. So you'd put a chorus on it and a compressor and da-da-da. And it was all a separate piece of hardware. And that's when we went from, from tape to fucking digital, right? So
I was good. Yeah, right after ADAT, pretty much.
In grade 11, so 1992 or 93, the government actually paid for a big thing where they made a studio in my high school. And I got to record my first thing. I made a fugue in B minor or something. I used all the black keys. And the next semester, the rich kids came in and stole all the equipment, and then the government never funded it. Yeah. So then there was no studio. And that's the Michael J. Fox theater at the Vancouver's Burnaby Secondary School, like their flagship place, millions of dollars. And the fucking studio was ripped off by the fucking goofs. But that's how I got into recording. So when I realized I could record myself, I said, "There's nothing to stop me."
Yeah.
Because people had told me I had to get a producer.
Oh, it's just kind of like how the government says that they're the only ones that can figure space out, so you got to turn to them for it. And then all of a sudden we realize, oh, maybe we can figure this out for ourselves.
That's right. And what does the government word mean in Greek? That's all you need to answer your question.
Govern the mind, control the mind.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So you gave it to them, and so now you can take it back and go, "Oh, you duped me, and I actually don't give you that sovereign right over me." So
I feel like that's one of the biggest things that people have a problem with. And luckily, I've said it many times. Luckily for me, and Bill can vouch for this, I've never been an ego-driven person ever. That's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to say, "Holy shit, I've been wrong my whole life," it wasn't a big deal for me. It was more of an anger thing than I wasn't mad at myself. I was mad because I had never heard this alternate
100%.
theory ever.
And a lot of people, they don't want to do that because it's too hard for them to admit they've been lied to. And that is exactly, you're touching, and that's why they knew the ego is a very sensitive thing.
And that's why
I feel
love
like we
when
run into this.
Yeah, they'll tell us, like, you guys aren't going to listen. You'll never change your mind. You're stuck in your ways. Like, what are you talking about? We're the ones who overturned our entire life of indoctrination once we saw opposing evidence. You guys are the ones who won't look at anything, not us.
And then I began to look at it as a gift. I began to look, was this opposition there so that I could free myself?
Yeah.
Because if this opposition wasn't there, then I wouldn't have this sort of, huge ability to be the Phoenix and to be reborn.
Yeah.
If the world was such a good place. And I'm not saying that we want that. I don't want the kids to be hurt. I'm just saying what provided the platform where I get to come and say, don't hurt the fucking kids.
Oh, no. And I know it's
slightly. Yeah, thank you, dude.
It's slightly off subject, I guess, but you're talking about how you have to have the bad to see the good. But, like, if anybody who believes in the Bible at all or believes in any of that has to say and know that shit's got to get real bad before it gets better. So embrace the suck. Exactly. I guess you gotta know it's gotta get bad.
Or know your enemy. Know your enemy.
Oh, yeah.
Better that.
I was an atheist most of my life, and even I've read. If I'm being honest, I read the Bible more as an atheist than I do now that I believe in God. But it was 100% about know your enemy. So all the stuff that I knew before, once I looked at it,
and I don't like the word God. I like the word creator.
Creator. I do too, because I've been to many churches and I don't agree with a single one of them. So yes, creator is right, but people just kind of mesh better with the word God. But yes, I completely agree. It's not any one religion per se. It's not you need to go to a building and talk to someone else to talk to God. To me, it's just a creator. Exactly what you said.
And that's what the church wants in monotheism, is that you have to worship their God and you don't have a relationship with God, because your relationship with your creator should be yours. And if you think your creator is red, that's fine. Yeah. No one should be forcing you to think he's blue or green or whatever the fuck it is. But that's the psyop, the subversion in is there that they want to control you. And by
Wait a minute. So he doesn't look like Ted Nugent?
I don't know. Maybe he was.
Dude, so this funny story about that. Bill and I are both heavily tattooed, and if anyone's ever been in a tattoo place, you know about the Ted Nugent Christ. There's this the flash on the wall of this Jesus that looks like Ted Nugent. His hair's all flowing.
In his heyday.
He totally looks like he should be holding the guitar with the fan beneath him blowing his hair.
Well, let's go into this. So you know the Return of Oz. We're going to go into Oz now. So Oz itself, the Wizard of Oz is huge because it talks about the Federal Reserve and what it is.
Yeah.
But in Return to Oz is a girl I grew up with. Her name is Fairuza Balk. So her mom, Catherine, and my mom were friends, and they're both belly dancers.
Nice.
Now she went into Hollywood, whereas I did a bunch of like extra, but I never got, you know, the upgrade to the vocal. And I was in like a mall doing Run with Patrick Dempsey, and the director had me run down the up escalator. And I go, no problem, I'm fit, I'm a young kid. So they go, and there's like 200 people moving. Well, the audio guy, they didn't have compressors on the mics. So as I would jump 3 or 7 stairs, it would create a boom on it. And so the fucking director goes, who the fuck is making all the noise? They single me out, and they go, we need you to run down the stairs quietly. I'm like, you're asking me to jump like fucking 7 fucking steps at a fucking time. What the fuck? And I'm a young kid. I don't even know. I look at it now like, what a joke. How much money were they blowing all this time? And my mom had to drop me off in the middle of the night. She'd come pick me up in the morning. And it probably wasn't paid that very much as a kid either, right? So,
did Patrick Dempsey try to touch you?
I don't know. I was not affectionate back. And so
did he try to teach you about Grey's Anatomy in the trailer?
Yeah, exactly. Just come to Hollywood. Well, here's the thing: is I go, what did they do to Fairuza that she did get the role for Return to Oz?
Oh man.
And yeah, so we can go into that. So the last, and I was in a bunch of other movies, but when I was a kid, one of the last ones I remember being sent to for a casting call was It by Stephen, the King, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
It's the original It that has Tim Curry in it.
Yeah.
And now, if you look at that movie, all of the sets is through Stanley Park, Lewis, Mr. Burnaby. We know the exact streets, the exact houses, and that is before all the high rises were put in there.
Yeah.
All through the city. So that's like the Vancouver I remember growing up in that doesn't exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of live, even though Seth Green's in that movie and he's a piece of shit pedophile, there's some cool and there's some interesting things in that. They got the dude from Jack Tripper from the Three's Company in there. They got the dude from WKRP, Venus Flytrap in it. There's some interesting characters. But the story itself is great, and so I bathe myself in that, in the sense that I can. At the time, there was a bunch of clown killers that were actually kill kids, and there's a dude named Willie Picton up here, who the Picton family's really rich, and he had a pig farm, and there was like 300 to 500 people deaded up in there.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. How he fed them to the pigs. Is that the one?
Yeah, so he would go and get, because he was half retarded, and the brother Dave and the father would get rid of bodies for the state and the police.
They actually had an episode of Criminal Minds based on that story.
Yes. Oh yeah, there's plenty of stuff. Yeah. So that dude's still alive. He got blamed for it, even though the family was the guys that was really doing it. And there were so many people that weren't supposed to be found DNA, they didn't do DNA tests on all the thing. And now what they did is they built condos over it. So if you go out there, there's people that have to live over top where these people were butchered.
Do you know about that school out there that supposedly buried a bunch of indigenous children, and then we were told that it wasn't true, and then all this shit?
There's a insane asylum. It's one of the biggest places. A lot of people do the movies there and stuff. But it's called Riverview because it sees the Fraser River. But it's like 50, 60 buildings. One of the most haunted places. Damn. But they let all these crazies out. And all of these people went and did even more worse stuff that you can imagine. But the residential schools where they put, so if you didn't fit the Jesuit thing, like to be a Nat man, if you didn't look Indian enough, if you looked too white or too black, they killed you.
Jeez.
You understand? That's just, so they'll pull out the things like this person was too white, you get deaded.
But I thought America was the most racist place in the world. What happened to that?
Only if you try to stop slavery. You only get blamed for racism if you try to stop selling people.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
saw it on.
We won't talk about who the original slave traders were. We won't get into that. So let's just move on. Let's not do that one.
Let's go back to the Oz stuff and Fairuza Balk and all that type of things.
I love that because so many people don't know that that's what it's really about. Sorry, continue.
Exactly, or the Federal Reserve. You, the straw man, the tin
I know
man,
it's so
the guy with
obvious
no
right
heart.
there. No heart. Yep.
The only
No
human
brain.
is Dorothy. She's the only one that gets high in the opium fields because she's the only one that's
It's
alive.
real. Yep.
You know, all the subtleties are there. And we've given it over. But in that is, if you listen to Toto, which means everything in Spanish, he's the little puppy yelling at you behind the curtain to see what the wizard is doing.
Yep.
So he's giving you the key. And it's only the people that allow you to give it over. You allow them to enslave you. All you have to do is wake and say, no, I don't want to be enslaved anymore. I make the money, bitches. The money don't make me.
You know, I can say that I used to think all the manifesting and all the stepping out of it was bullshit because you still got to have a job. You still got to do that. Like, yes, I have a job, but I've managed to have a job that I like that actually contributes. I've managed to be happy and touch their system as little as possible. That's what I can say. I can't.
And that's right. So
fully
let's
step
go
out
into
of
that
it.
thing. So if you sell your time in 1964, the minimum wage was 5 ounces of silver per hour, which was $25 of silver. So when people ask me how much do I want to go, you can give me 5 ounces of silver an hour. Well, most people don't even know that that's about $140 an hour right now, because what they value their money. And that's how they trick you. So it's not that it's bad to sell your time or to do a task or to barter my physical labor for whatever products or a medium to purchase things, but that they've devalued it is the fascism and the communism, Marxism in there, right?
That's right.
I think that bartering is like I'm gonna go off a little bit here, but think about when you buy something, no matter how much you love the thing, you always walk away like, fuck, man, I wish I didn't spend that much money. This sucks. But when you barter something with somebody, you walk away with such a positive feeling. You traded something that you don't need anymore or don't want, and now you have something you want. It's a completely different exchange of energy, of everything. Money it just makes everything horrible. Everything. Nobody likes buying anything. They like getting the stuff, but nobody likes paying for it. It's always a negative feeling with negative energy all the time. Sorry.
Because people gave so much to get that money.
That's
no,
right.
Totally. They gave so much, and then you don't get very much back. So you see that how much you gave, and you feel gypped.
Yep.
Just by the transaction, right? So, whereas if it's your thing and you can barter for it, you go, well, this is worth X to me.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you traded fairly.
Yeah.
Or
this is why they teach you, in economics that time is money, right? So you're trading your time for money, and I've been to kind of like. Not go against that, but my side of it, I bartered way under what I'm worth before and still felt kind of bad in the end. But what I bartered for has actually paid for itself in, 3, 4, 5, 6 times over, Yeah. So
when I worked for the government, the same thing. I hate the government, but I use it as a learning experience and take in information and bring in stuff. So I don't feel like the low money was it that I got out of the exchange.
Oh, you better believe
it's like a paid internship.
If I could have a government job somewhere that mattered, I would take it just to be inside and be seeing what the fuck's going on. But that'll never happen. Not for me. Probably on a list somewhere by now.
Yeah. So everything's going down pretty hardcore today. They're flushing it when they want to impeach the clown. Matt Gaetz wants to take the speaker away.
Yeah.
And I love the never surrender shit. I don't even give a shit if you like or dislike Trump. The fact that he has gone against the deep state is, I used to go, man, this guy's kind of weird. But then I go, everybody I hate hates this guy. So it goes, well, my enemy's got to be my friend.
Yeah.
And even if he, you know what I mean? And here's another thing I'll tell you guys about gangs. In a gang, you cannot go and kill somebody unless you're part of the gang. It'll be a big problem. Your whole family get fucked up.
Yeah.
So he's probably part of a group where you can go, guess what, motherfuckers? I can actually do something. And that's why he's more hated than anything. So as much as it's whatever and this and that, I go, interesting. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
A lot of people
hearing
Yeah, go ahead. Oh
ahead.
yeah, Canadian perspective on it. That's true.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of neat hearing that, like, that outside perspective of it, because obviously we don't get that here. It's everybody's opinion is everybody's asshole, you know.
Yeah, just
So-
I don't know if you know, because I guess we don't post about it, and I'm sure I don't expect you to listen to all the episodes of the podcast and shit. But so
I tried to. I just didn't listen all the way through. No,
Yeah, no. So Bill and I a while back decided, because we were kind of at a crossroads with Trump. Like, I used to hate Trump before anything to do with politics. I just thought he was a fucking tool. Like, I was just like, oh my god,
Yeah, totally.
this dude, his reality TV. I used to laugh at it. I had friends that watched the show. I'm like, you're an idiot. That being said,
over everything.
yeah, as soon as he started talking, I don't want to say I saw myself in him, but the just, I don't give a fuck what you think. I'm going to say what I think. That I respected. And then it got to a point with all the Q stuff, and we won't get into all that, but to where we started hearing ramblings and shit about, maybe Trump's the Antichrist, blah, 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 this, that. So Bill and I both decided that he's going to more stick with the Trump is good, and I'm going to try to entertain the other side of it.
But Trump does not wear the mitre hat.
Yeah.
And the mitre hat that says Vicarius Filii Dei is the Antichrist in Latin. It means in place of the Christos.
Yeah,
so
thus far.
He hangs out. He's allowed to walk to the Vatican, but he doesn't wear the mitre hat.
Yeah.
So
Good
we got
point.
and the mitre hat is Baal and Moloch. You got to go look at what the symbolism is behind it to understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
but
again,
I was hoping you were gonna kind of dive into that a little bit, because I'm like, man,
my point before
anybody's
we go further is just that even if you believe that that's true, embrace him then. If you believe in God and you believe that it has to go the way the Bible says, if that's what you believe, then shouldn't you just want it to happen? Shouldn't you want it to come? So just let's ride it out and see what happens every day.
And so the end of Revelation is, you got to think about William Percy and how these guys were writing that sort of like Shakespeare-esque, because some of the guys go with so fucking fanciful words. So at the end of it, what is going on? The dude becomes the Antichrist, but then he becomes the Christ. Means that he usurps the thing and becomes the seat of the evil, but then turns it. It's hard to sort of understand the end of the book there. But definitely Satan hates Genesis and Revelations, because that's the two places where he gets called out.
Yeah.
You're getting deep into etymology.
If we could try to
You were saying that you had been studying that lately. Is this a little bit about that, like the etymology?
Well, it's right now because of the things that we're going through. I think they're trying to, the Masons, there may be 800 to 1100 years of falsification of time.
Yeah.
Yes,
I agree.
I believe that.
Where they want to reset. They want to reset, or they want to do another calendar change.
Yeah.
Because here's another reason why the vaccine thing is, if you get rid of all the people that are witness to the crime, then there's no crime. So right now the people can't say, hey, 9/11 is a crime, because the state is suppressing them. As soon as you kill them off, they can go, yeah, no, our narrative is correct.
Yeah, kids these days don't even know shit about it. So once
no, not a chance you weren't there. It doesn't exist. No. Fanciful story, baby.
It's like me when I was a kid hearing about Vietnam. Like, I listened to stories, but I couldn't relate at all. It was before I was alive. I have no connection to that. And that's how they've had it now. Kids today have no connection to it, and it's just another story that they're going to pass off.
Exactly. They put a poster children of what they want you to think the narrative was, but they don't tell you the dynamics, or that there was other groups involved, or that the picture is probably far bigger than you think. Yeah, and it probably had something to do with, international banking was probably the stem of what caused the conflict, right?
That sounds about right to me.
That's pretty much what causes every conflict. All of them.
And so then who wants international banking? That's the Vatican. All right. Who's running the IMF? All these things that come from out of World War II. And at the end of their last fucking bullshit. And that's when these motherfucking Nazi fascists took over or they were always working with the Roman Church, because the Roman Catholic Church always pushed the Bolsheviks and all this other thing. You know, you can go and see Hitler shaking. And I don't even give a shit if you think Hitler's a good person or a bad person. He's just part of the trick.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just a trick
irrelevant.
flow. His grandfather was a Rothschild. That's the only reason you get to be there. You don't get to go and dance at the front of the stage unless you're one of them. They're not going to let me up there because I ain't one of them bitches. So I'm going to sing my song on the side stage. Hey, you want to know something else? So a couple of years later, after I seen Pink or Primus doing, that was for, which album was it? Stainless Seas of Seven Cheese.
Yes.
Yeah.
The next one I just went and saw Pork Soda, where they did My Name Is Mud, and that was on the Lollapalooza one.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm walking around. They had brought Allison Chains was there, and they had the guy that was a wheelchair-bound guy that did the art for Allison Chains.
Oh yeah,
and it was like they had a big sign.
I know who you're talking about.
Exhibition. And I'm running around. It's a big thing. I'm on acid, and who do I run in? Maynard James Keenan.
Oh my God, that's
They
so
just
bummed
played
that he's not
Undertow,
here.
and they
Tool's his
did-
favorite band.
I mean, before this is before they were famous.
Yeah.
So they did the Red Hot Chili Peppers things. They played with just socks on their dick.
Yep.
And I'm just, and I got some weed. And back in the day, like Sepultura and that, the roadies are going, "You smoking weed? Can we get some weed for the boys and get some autographs?" I was like, "You can have as much weed as you want, boys," because I was cool like that. And in fact, can I just hang out? So I hang out with Anthrax, I hang out with Slayer, I hang out with all these boys.
That's awesome.
It doesn't matter. Like, let's go hang out, smoke some weed, bitches. So we're there, and Maynard James Keenan and I just walk around for like an hour just talking.
That's awesome.
And I didn't even know like his propensities or whatever. Now I hear people come to his house. He pulls out shotguns. He's got the super fucking famous thing, and he's got the money. But those guys were cool, and the guitarist worked for Lucas Light and Film, so he had access to technology. That's why those fucking Tool videos are insane, man.
Yeah.
That I did not know, but that makes sense.
And so there you go. There's another big thing where I run into people, and now it's all just history, but it is what it is. And a lot of times when I was hanging with people, I'd be like, if you do want to make a song, that's how I collaborate with a lot of people. It's like, there's a studio close by.
Yeah, so it's right here. I played some of the best shows of my life in Canada. I'll just say, I loved Canada.
Nice, brothers.
I mean,
hey, you guys mentioned tattoos earlier, so let's talk about tattoos for a minute.
Yeah. What about them?
What do you want about?
You guys got a lot, so that's cool.
You're gonna tell me how I shouldn't have them? How I fucked up?
No. I got tattoos all over.
Okay.
I got a third of my body tattooed. So
yeah. I mean,
used to go every time.
My whole back, both arms, part of my leg,
Nice.
a couple on my rib, knuckles. The usual.
Nice. Okay, so you got a little bit of the show thing. So I learned too that the tattoos come from secret societies, and where you put them means something. And to some secret societies, what you project, you better come correct. So I got all my tattoos like traditional Japanese style. So if I wear a kimono or a shirt, you can't really tell.
Oh
I have a lot of
You can cover
tattoos.
it all up. Yeah. No, me,
So,
I was
one of
stupid
my
and was
arms-
like, I'll be in the band forever. Let me get my arms and knuckles done.
Well, my first tattoo was the bottom of my left foot. I got an Egyptian
Oh.
ankh when I was about 4 or 5 inches.
How
And
many
it
times
fucking-
did
the
you have
whole-
it done?
Just once. That
And
one
it
time,
stayed?
it just bled off. Like no, it's almost
Oh,
gone.
okay,
It's like
okay.
almost because the palms and your feet. A lot of tattoo artists won't tattoo because
Yeah.
the epidermis gives off the ink, right? So, but yeah, that was the first one. The girls all laughed because it hurt. It felt like a hot knife passing through my foot. And after like an hour, I had, sweat just dripping off my chin. And I just gave a grunt, and everybody in the whole place just laughed.
I can't even imagine the bottom of the foot. I'd be giggling.
That's brutal.
Like I can't.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
did
even
my
touch
palm.
my foot. Yeah.
I did my palm, and that one hurt. I'm not gonna lie. It's still
Yeah,
there. He dug
The
he dug-
kidneys, the side, the inside of the sinew, like the inside of your arms and your armpit, those hurt.
Oh yeah, my armpit.
that
It
nerve.
goes in my armpit. The crease where your elbow is isn't
Mhm.
fun. None of those places are good. None of them.
Dude, I don't know how you did that. I can barely get a pedicure done without kicking the lady in the face.
All right. Well,
There you go. His name was Percy. He was a one-legged Indian too. So one-legged Indian.
that's
That's
awesome.
what the fuck he said.
Well, I know what to name this episode now. Teddy Bass and the one-legged
Right on.
Indian.
And you're gonna make it famous because that shit will blow up because you're calling out the boy. So I used to go and let me finish the story. So every time I would grow weed and I was successful because all the other guys were fucking clown junkies and they'd hang with these douchebags, I would go and get a line of one of my favorite books tattooed on one of my arms, to the point where I had, basically from just above my elbow up to my shoulder, just tattooed with lines and in either Sanskrit or old Hebrew or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
And then my mom got sick, and my mom always loved dragons, and I was born in the year of the dragon, so I said, Mom, I'll go get a dragon tattoo, and she smiled. And so when she passed away, I said, Mom, I'm gonna make sure. So I went to the Dutchman tattoo, and I said, dude, you got to do a traditional Japanese. You got to do the whole fucking thing. So it's from shoulder to the fucking hips, full back piece.
Holy shit.
Done traditional with fire on top, water on the bottom, and the big dragon.
Did you do that all in one sitting?
It took about 35 hours. The most I could do was 5 or 6 hours at a time. It hurt so much.
Oh, my God.
And they took me to the Dutchman asked me if I would go to one of the conventions once. And I said, sure. So the guy would just fucking carve it into my back.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the book. I just have the book out because to distract me. And these Chinese girls, all these little Asian girls come up, just picture me. Because this guy's getting fucking, they're just carving chunks out of his back and he's reading a book.
That's crazy because I had actually at a tattoo convention also had my back tattooed by the artist there on display and was doing the same exact thing, was reading a book while he's just going to town on my back.
And just tried to distract, and I didn't ask for the numbing cream and I didn't take drugs.
No, I've never used that. It's crazy. And at the conventions, everyone's in there smoking cigarettes and shit. You're like, I don't think this is a sterile environment, but fuck it. Let's do it.
No.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of pain, but I was in a lot of pain. And now I don't know if I'd ever go through. There was a lot of pain. I would go home and I felt like I had the flu. I'd give the shivers after 5-6 hours of fucking things. I'm like, that's a lot of fucking.
Yep. It's rough. It breaks it takes like everything from your immune system and everything goes to the giant wound you now have on you.
And that was 10 years ago. Now that the pandemic, and I know they put all that garbage in the fucking I don't want people putting needles in me. I don't even know if I want to get a tattoo.
I haven't been in years. You're right. I'm luckily friends with the girl that tattoos me, so I could ask her everything. Be like, hey.
And I'm going to ask her where she gets the inks, what's mixed with everything. And I'd actually want her to know. Yeah. I'd want her to be informed, to be like, don't give me the fucking the expired jabs mixed with the blue ink.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we got to get rid of this stuff. We got to offload it somewhere. Put it in the blue tattoo ink.
Yeah. Just give it that fucking squid ink and then send it on to the way.
If it starts moving and shit after you get it done, then you probably got a little bit of graphene in you.
Send it to Canada first so they can't honk their horns anymore.
That's right. Have you heard of the Luciferese, where apparently they look at you at different light spectrums and see if they can see if you've taken the jab or not? That's why I don't go to those places anymore. I don't want them filming me, bitches.
It's I was just talking to my wife today about like how they're trying to start the masking and crap again, and I was like, I know they will, but it's so hard for me to believe that people are gonna fall for this again.
They'll go for it. How stupid can you be? But hey, maybe these are all people made in an eggshell that just come out yesterday, fully fucking grown up. And that's stupid.
I know. Who knows? Total
it doesn't
NPCs.
have anything to do with stupidity, actually. It's all these younger kids. They're basically paid off. I worked through the last one, and nobody wanted to go back to work. No one wanted to go back to normal.
No,
I didn't miss
Antifa, BLM. Yeah.
I didn't miss one single day of work through the pandemic. I didn't have a day off because of it. Not one single one. And I'm glad I
never
did.
stopped even one day either.
You what?
And I'll tell you, boys, that's how you know you're at war, because it takes two things for you to be at war. It takes propaganda and phenomenon. So every day for 2 years, I went to fucking work, and they pushed their fucking narrative, and they physically had somebody that was not a government employee, who was a contractor, try and push it. I go, you're acting as the state's agent. You're trying to encroach on my fucking charter of rights, and you have no authority to do that. And that's how stupid people are, is they took it upon themselves to take legal action against other people because they weren't doing what they wanted.
Tattling
that
on
is
people,
tort.
basically.
That's tort law. That's tort law. It's a huge fucking thing. And what happens is when the people that know better don't do the right thing, they're culpable.
Yeah. I did everything I could. I talked to everyone I could, tried to convince everyone. Every time there's like, oh, it's a mandate. I'm like, a mandate's not a law. I don't care if they say it's a mandate. It's not a law. You don't have to do it. Well, they said you have to. I think I wore a mask twice in the very beginning because it was like I was with family members and they were like, oh, come. After that,
They
nope.
played this thing. So I got a bunch of fucking like rags and shit. I'll put on my thing. I put on my Burton snowboarding mask. It's got a big fucking. It's got a great mesh in it. It's obviously doesn't do that. I'm laughing at the bitches. I'm gonna dress up like Cobra Commander every day. I'm gonna read just fine. I'm gonna laugh. And then when they all try to fuck around, it's just fucking hilarious, man. But I go, you guys are on fuck blue, man. So eat a bag of dicks, bitches.
So how much longer you think we got to deal with this shit, man?
Oh, they're gonna push it hard again because they gotta keep the Trumples out of the office, right?
So I
okay. So let's go. You say something, but I want to bring one more thing about the Trumples.
While we were just saying that, before we did this, I was at dinner with my wife, and I was like, because my brain's always, Bill, you can attest to this, that I always play both sides in my head, always, even if it's something, even with Flat Earth, which is my biggest thing. I always entertain both sides in my head because I don't want to be wrong.
You want to look at both models.
Exactly.
You want to look at alternate models.
I do that.
The actual reason that I am so confident in what I did is because I looked at other models and I go, these are incorrect models. I'm not trying to convince you to think like me.
Yeah.
I went to this place.
I want you to look.
Right? So go ahead.
I didn't believe anybody. But that being said about COVID, so in my mind, I have two different things. It was a test to see how much control people would give up. But what if, because we know that their ultimate goal is to cull the population. It's everywhere. Every group, everything has said that at some point. They want to depopulate. So what?
Well, if there's less of you, they can push their lives better.
Exactly.
And then they get to their villas.
And
like,
the older people with more knowledge of history are going to be the most susceptible. They're going to die first. Those are the ones you want to wipe out anyway. But so say they did COVID and we all know it was nothing. I got it, supposedly. I mean, I assume I did. I didn't test for it, but I was sick during that time, blah, blah, blah. Other people around me tested. And
influenza cold.
Yeah, exactly. But so say they release this thing, they put out these videos of people in China dying in the streets. So the smart people are like, this is totally fake. It's just the flu. Obviously, this is bullshit. Watch, they're going to try it again, and it's going to be the same bullshit. Then they release something that's really deadly. So all the motherfuckers who are like, oh, it's and they're dead.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's what they're going to do.
I've had kind of the same theory, you know. I mean, and the vaccine was actually something to like protect people from the new virus that they would release.
They're trying to wipe out the people that didn't go along with it.
So you're talking about counter.
That's what I was thinking, you know, and then they can say, hey, look, listen, you know, we told them to take it, and
here you go, guys. If you have like turmeric and cayenne pepper in your blood, it won't work. Their nanotechnology won't work. And if you're not around the melting area, so the military people in my family said be 100 kilometers away from the borders because that's where the money will fund the programs and they'll focus their efforts on.
Interesting.
So if 5G and everything is means that they have to do a frequency on you. They have to get you to vibrate at that thing where you die. You see those pictures where the people like they look to the left or whatever and they get the jammer and they fucking fall down or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? Like, so what you guys are saying is correct, but I think there are a couple of things that break down the sugars and that similar to stop the cancer. So if you take cayenne pepper and you take turmeric and you take all these, you know, homeopathic or things, the technology breaks down the sugar. So protein cell is very big. It's a clumsy molecule.
Yeah.
It doesn't work well. And it's the same type of shit they put in pesticides and shit. So what they're doing is they're jamming you with all this fucking big, clumsy molecules and other things like the graphene to clog your arteries and your stuff. So when you don't make a vitamin C, you make a C19 cell.
Yeah.
So when you have a rupture in your artery, you get this thing, and it actually minimizes the diameter of your artery. And your body is waiting for you to take vitamin C and other things, and then the vitamin C comes and replaces that. But if you do not take healthy food, this is the way to keep your car on empty all the time. So you're always running your car on red. And then all this, eventually you have an oil break, or fucking the transmission goes, or something goes, which could have been easily mitigated by you just, keeping your windshield washer fluid and your fucking gas up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the best way I can describe it to
I know
people.
what you mean.
In the sense that go and eat some fucking dandelion roots. You won't have a heart attack. They don't want to tell you that because, Montecito, the fucking poison company, wants to kill all the dandelions.
Yeah.
They don't want you to know that the medicine is in your garden, sir.
Yeah. If you go to a doctor and one of their first questions isn't about your diet, leave that doctor. Just leave, because that's everything. What you put in your body is everything, and all they want to do is give you drugs. That's it. So
let's go back.
That's seriously going to limit your choice of doctors. That's for sure.
I know.
I was gonna say,
No, there are doctors.
I'm done with doctors.
There are doctors.
Dr. Tim Yeomans was married to an Indian woman out of South India, and he left Canada a few years after he was helping BK, because they had started a thing called the Tus Chi Homeopathic Institute, and then the next year the government defunded it. So he said he would rather go and actually help people than to be in a fascist government. He actually left Canada.
Damn.
And to this day, I look at that and I go, so what he told me is because I was in a bad car accident, and he says, we don't want to operate on you. I want you to do martial arts, because you do martial arts. I want you to feed yourself with good things, and I want you to go to chiropractic, and I want you to do everything balanced. So I want you to, because when my back that was sort of crushed, like my muscles made a natural suspension thing, so like the muscles grew on one side to compensate for the sponges being crushed on the other side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, if you do everything balanced, and he knew that I had this ability because I was taught Kyokushin. He said, this will help you better than us cutting you open or putting you on dope. And he knew, I was like, I don't want to take the drugs, dude. I don't want a script.
Yeah.
They actually tried to put me on the script, but I just pretended. I pretended to take one pill and said I don't like it, and just said, no, give me some herb.
Smart man.
Nasty
Smart.
system,
And-
nasty system right there.
And now it's all history. But yeah, so there you go. You're in good measure here, boys, and stay away from allopathic medicine. If they want to cut you open or give you narcotic drugs, it's not going to be conducive with you living a long life or being happy.
They don't work. I can vouch for that, because I have something called degenerative disc disorder. I have serious back issues, but they tried to put me on all that shit. That's a whole nother long story. But what made it better was changing my diet, changing my physical activity, to doing better stuff instead of more strenuous stuff. And they wanted to do surgery on my back, and the doctor sat me down and literally said, well, the surgery is going to be about $30,000, and there's a 50-50 chance it'll work, and you could possibly come out being worse than you are now. Like, are
Wow.
you serious?
What an
Like,
option.
he literally
pay
said that
$30K.
to me. And years later, I decided to take it in my own hands, and I dealt with the back pain for years. And now it doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me at all. It's gone because I changed my mind about it. I changed the way I ate, and I changed my physical activity, and it's gone. And they wanted to do surgery that may or may not have worked. Now, surgery's not always bad. There's times when shit goes bad, because my wife had back surgery because she had a totally blown out disc and couldn't even walk, and it helped her. But
Right.
they're always quick to cut into you and put you on medication when it's not necessary.
Damn right. Damn right.
And that's the easy way. That means they don't know how the body works. We just want to cut, patch, and give me some money, And,
Yeah.
I had an engine block go through my knee,
Oh.
and years later, because I did rope access, so I'd have to sit in a body harness for hours on end. we would work on sometimes swing stages, and there's a building called the Shangri-La here. It's 720 feet.
Yeah.
And at the crossover where you sucked yourself back into the building, the engineers didn't rig it right. So one day we felt like 18 inches. And I said, if the cables start to shear, we're going to cut into the building where we are. Well, it took all day, but we got out of there because there's no support system. They'd have to bring in military helicopters at that height to get you safe, right?
Yeah.
So I went down and I told my supervisor, you never fucking put me in a swing stage again. I'll only do rope access, which is capped at 400 feet. But then so I would sit in a harness for many hours. And because I had that knee injury early, my hip was compressed and my leg would go numb. So after a few years, I didn't like it. And I went and saw like what do those people do? They put the needles in you. So the
acupuncture, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so I see this one, she's pretty smooth. She seems to know what she's doing. She wants to put some 6-7 inch, things. She says, I'm going to release these muscles. These muscles have been seized for like 10 years and they're still gripping. So I had her do that. And then boom, I got, the flow in my leg a lot better. And I stopped doing rope access. So I wasn't sitting in harnesses anymore. But yes, very much the same thing is to fix yourself without putting you on the dope or cutting you open.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. All she said is this muscle is seized, and it's the inner. So in your gluteus maximus in your hips, there's like 3 or 4 muscle groups, right? And basically what they were doing is relieving the stress on the tendon because the tendon would not release for whatever the stress or trauma to it.
Yeah.
That is wild. So dude, I gotta say, thoroughly impressed.
Yeah.
I'm blown away. I don't.
Thanks, boys. Just ask people to play.
Yeah,
the
I was
songs.
gonna say before
make a remix.
Dude,
Do the whole record.
That's so cool, man. Did you ever run into any astronauts during your harness training?
No, but I would stand at buildings and terrify people because I'd stand at the edge and just smile and wave.
Yeah, no, not me.
It's all about negotiating the corner.
I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm not a fan of heights at all. I hate heights.
Are there any particular songs you?
Yeah, we're at about 2 hours, so I'd love to talk forever, but people
next time, bring me on again, boys.
I
had one more question.
Yeah, I was going to say, does Rufus have?
No, we each got another question, but go ahead, Rufus.
It was pertaining to something we were kind of talking about earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt. Do you know what you sound like the right guy to ask? What do you know about like pedophilia in the Catholic Church? Because
so the Black Pope and the White Pope, and then there's other groups involved like the Knights of Malta and stuff, and they buy and sell children, and that is the Temple of Moloch and Baal. So at the Temple of Moloch, the old thing was you would give your firstborn child, and in this they trick people, and that's where the allopathic medicine is. So then they would take that baby, and that's why they do organ research, and the fetuses are worth so much. That's the Epsteins. That's the Rockefellers, and trust me, they consider you as a owned item. They consider you as, and this goes back to the alchemy and the comprachicos and the homunculus. So write this word down. Next time we're talking about the homunculus.
Yeah.
That they think that you are owned by the state and you are at their disposal.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Rufus?
Well, sorry, I was writing down homunculus. Well, I was just more wondering, like, how the priests are pretty prevalent in pedophilia, and like, how does that come about? Are they taught to do that, or?
I think they were buggered. I think it's a pass-on thing. My father was left at a work farm when he was 6. Because my grandfather was charged with bigamy, and the way that my grandmother dealt with that is she took my father and left him at a work farm, and they beat those kids. So as much as my father is a piece of shit goof, that's the life that was given to him. And I went and found out who he was when I was 18 to understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have 7 half brothers and sisters through other mothers that all of their lives are ruined by that man's decisions. So I see it. So me and my daughter being okay actually wins. And so I see it as the state doing this. This is going to be part of, look up Operation Pied Piper. Look at the whole idea of moving kids or buying or selling children. You'll see that right now today with the Biden regime and tens of thousands of children missing and the cartels being involved. And you got to remember that everything that is the cartels is the Catholic Church, because that is their extended arm. That's their Luciferian arm.
Oh, yeah.
MS-13 is owned by the Catholic Church.
Yep. So many people have no clue about any of the crap about the Catholic Church. They don't know they have their own military. They don't know they have their own.
It's Luciferian too. So
they don't know.
If you don't understand what Satanism is and Saturnalia, so you were sold when we practice the Christmas rituals to go to the store. That was Saturnalia sold to us. So we went to a little bit of the Star Wars and the bullshit, but we were sold the lie wholeheartedly.
What about Santa? Is Santa not real? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, he's wearing the mitre hat of the Jew. Now we got to talk about these. He's wearing the. It's the fallen hat. It's the. But yeah. So if you look at the actual makeup of Santa, we're going to go into symbolism. That is selling you. So the 3 colors of Egypt was the upper and lower was red and white. So that's the red and white, and the war flag is blue. So the UN, all the helmets are blue. Red, white, and blue. The U.S. flag, that is a Jesuit-owned corporation. Why they wanted the fucking 6-sided stars, but they got 5-sided stars. Why are the lines there? The 13 lines. You're gonna bathe in the water a little bit more, boys.
Oh yeah, this is for next time.
Yeah, we'll get into the Santa thing around Christmas time, maybe. It'll be fun.
Oh, that's
right,
dude. We are gonna be big on holiday episodes for sure, because they all have their own shit around them, and it's just gonna be awesome.
Everything. Easter, Halloween, Christmas, all of them.
Every single one. We're having. I don't know if you checked out. I'm not trying to keep plugging him, but he's just awesome. I don't know if you checked out Ravens Watch podcast. He's got some cool people on there telling some cool stories. He's got some good shit, and he's gonna be on for our Halloween episode. And him and Bill.
So here's one thing I would say to you guys, and I've seen that one, is that I hope you guys are not paid for by the Catholic Church. And if you are and you don't know, check yourselves. But I'm doing this from a place that is not owned by.
Yeah, no,
I ain't paid for by anybody. And
my bills don't get paid, bitch.
Daddy Elon's the only one paying around here.
Yeah, it's
$57.
Paid,
and I didn't want to be mean by that. I just thought I'd say, because usually I have to declare.
Fine,
if you're a police officer, you got to tell us, So.
Yeah, no, I can say I've never received $1 of payment for doing anything for any government agency.
That's right.
And or
the real chosen people.
Any secret society or anything. I have never been or never will be involved in any of that at all.
There you go. So the
we're
Israeli flag.
I was going to say the fans of the real Israelites over here, not the.
That's right. So the blue and white flag is strange because the blue is the military color. So I think the real flag of the chosen people would be red and white and would have a menorah on it and not the Star of Rembrandt. Just saying.
Yeah.
If we're looking at flag details, not taken away from everything, but let's look at the Hebrew people and the people of Chaldees and see where the information come from. And if we've been tricked, that's Babylon. All they did was take the truth and skew it.
That's right.
Yep. That's what they do with everything. They feed it to you with a lot of truth, just a little twist.
So
just a twist.
Yep.
As we're heading out here,
yeah,
drop one more time where people can find your music, and if you had to choose one song that we could play at the end of this, which one would it be?
Yeah, we're gonna put it on the fade out.
All right, so put on Grow Weed in the Graveyard.
There you go.
Grow Weed.
Sounds like an
Figure
excellent
out Sugar Skull, and much respect. AdOxedja.com. You can find me at AdOxedja on Twitter and all that stuff. Much appreciated for the Blood Boys. But any site, Spotify, whatever you guys do, titles, I don't give a shit.
Faux show.
Much respect for the things. And if anybody wants stickers or vinyl or CDs or anything, we got a room full of stuff. Just hit me up on the messages and give us an address. We'll send you a whole whack of stuff. You put a T-shirt on, and you can go tell the person down the block to stop supporting the fake shit.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Preach, man.
Dude, it's been a pleasure, man. And honestly, again, I'm not even bullshitting. I think I could speak for these guys. I am stunned.
Yep. Absolutely.
I am stunned.
Absolutely.
Blown away, man.
And send us any links you want me to post in the description of the video for people to find you, any of that. I'm trying to get better at that stuff. And yeah,
hit me up a day ahead or whatever and get the next one going a week or so, whatever. But and this is live. You are actually the real thing. You are doing it. The revolution will not be televised.
It will not be.
Hey, do us one favor. Put your foot straight up Trudeau's ass. Do that for us.
Yeah,
do it for
fuck
us.
You
Trudeau.
probably like it.
Death.
I know exactly. He's queer as a motherfucker, but him and his dad are all just donkeys. And the pedophiles. And you can take the pedophiles, and there's extra rope. So there's a song called "Fucking Strange Fruit." Look it up.
Awesome. Death put in
right,
growing
Ted.
weed in the graveyard, and we will fade it out, and we will definitely have you back, my man. It was awesome talking to you.
Stay blessed, boys.
You
Yep,
too.
thanks, my
Thank
dude.
you.
Gentlemen, Rufus, Ted, it's been a pleasure.
Have a good night, dude.
Always.
Later.
All right, Ted.
Next to pine trees, where the tall grass grows, my laboratory mistress. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. Nobody bothers her. The police don't dare to go there. They know they won't leave. All the Pope's gangs are terrified of her. They don't want to catch a voodoo spell from her gypsy words. The weeds just grow and grow, even when it snows. Always busy doing things, growing swarthy peat on the stones. She's a lady. She throw her thong at Tom Jones. She like the two 1911s, silver and gold. The mariachi with the sombrero hat. She loves the water I draw. Cool glass of fresh and tall. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. Hustler cover Vampirella, give you the slack jaw. She still grows that green purple for ya. Growing weeds in the graveyard, bagging up the pounds. Bunny rabbit thumping wheels going round. 3-letter agencies got their makeup looking clown. All out of bubble gum, red rum, all work, no play. Rumba bum bum, drummers know where to stick it. Candy paint, take the corners drifting. Black out the sky with arrows, like a herd of elephants. Only built for Cuban links. The Wizard of Oz controls what you think. Sink the pink, living in your mind rent free, bitch. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. This little chickadee I know grows weed in the graveyard. Yeah, chickadee growing weed in the graveyard. Little goatee tied to the flagpole. Bunny rabbits jumping around. Playing cards, remote control.
recently, and for no